Hey, how's it going out there, everybody? It's Brandon, aka Scourge of Vinyl, back with a video that I've been thinking about doing for a while, but I just haven't gotten around to. But here I am, finding myself with a little bit of spare time and the motivation to make this video. So, this is going to be my favorite death metal records of the last decade, meaning from 2011 to 2020. That is 10 years. And you will see that death metal is alive and well. These are some absolutely outstanding albums, both from new bands and old bands. The criteria for this, I only picked one album from a band. There's no multiple albums from one band in this. And it had to be death metal, and it had to be in that time frame. That's all. This is my list. It's just for fun. Do I think that these are the absolute best? No, they're just my favorite. I'm sure there's a ton out there that I missed. If you feel like it, go ahead and leave your favorite album of the last decade in the comments. Maybe I find something new too. That's how this thing works. So, I've got 30 records here. I'm gonna go through them kind of fast because I don't want this video to last 30 minutes. Let's start off with Disma in 2011, Towards the Megalith. I don't give a fuck what you say about this band's singer. He's not a part of the band anymore. This album is undeniable. Death Doom. It is the end-all, be-all, like, just such a great album. I recommend everyone just start with this if you haven't heard it. And then on to 2012. It was a little bit difficult going to these past years because you'll see starting in 2014 is when I started doing like end of the year lists for myself. And so it was a little bit easier to go back to those lists and kind of scavenge for what were the best death metal albums from those years. So for the years 2011, 2012, 2013, I had to do a little bit of research, a little bit of digging, but rest assured, there's plenty. Hooded Menace, this is Effigies of Evil. More Death Doom, but seriously good stuff. Asphyx, Deathhammer. This band has been releasing quality stuff since they got back together. But Deathhammer in 2012 is my favorite of the bunch. And you knew there was going to be a Cannibal Corpse record on this list. You just didn't know which one it was going to be. But it is Torture. My favorites of this band's in the last 10 years, maybe Violence Unimagined takes over, but that was a 2021 release, so not included in here. 2013, Bastum. This is Patricidal Lust. Alternate cover for this one. I far prefer the Paolo Girardi cover, but for the LP version, we've got this cover. Noisem, Agony Defined. These guys were just fucking kids when they wrote this record. Some of the best like thrashy death metal of the past decade. Really reminds me a lot of Eaten Back to Life, so you can understand why I like it. And those guys are homies, so they rule. Carcass, Surgical Steel, the 2013 Return album. This was actually my favorite record of 2013. I know people are going to consider this blaspheme, but I prefer like Swan Song, Heartwork, Surgical Steel to like the early grind days of Carcass. I like the straight up death metal Carcass much more. I'm sure that's going to get me some hate, but again, that's just my opinion. All right, 2014. Now this is where I started to pull out albums from my past year-end lists. Starting with Dead Congregation, Promulgation of the Fall. Outstanding band. I think this is their best work, if you ask me. Graves of the Archangels is fantastic too, but I really love this record. Another heavy hitter from an old band, Incantation, Dirges of Elysium. 2014 when this album came out, I listened to it a lot. Especially songs like Carry On Prophecy and From a Glaciate Womb. Those songs in this album got a lot of listen from me. Moving on to 2015, This is Cruciamentum with Charnel Passages. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. I could go on and on about all of these albums, but I'm just going to try and get through them. Like I said, I'm not going to say too much about them. It's up to you to go out there and listen to them. I'll try and leave links for all this stuff. But I'm sure you've heard some of this stuff at least. Hopefully you've heard this one. Pissgrave, Suicide Euphoria. Probably the most chaotic and just unhinged and savage sounding record of this entire bunch. 2016, Catalyst, that is how you pronounce this band's name, with Les Derniers Crépuscules. Technical death metal, but not wankery, just like look what I can do. More like stuff like Demolic, if you like that kind of stuff. Another band that you knew was going to be on here, just a matter of which one. Blood Incantation, Starspawn. I like this and Hidden History of the Human Race probably about equal, but this one was the one that kind of started it all. So go with that one, Starspawn. Crypts, Remnants of Expansion, more fantastic death doom. Just go listen to it. Listen to all this stuff. I really find it hard to believe that there would be a whole lot of stuff in here that any fan of death metal would not like. Immolation with Atonement, 2017, we're on to now. Again, an old band, still doing it, baby. I think this is their best work of this decade. Tons of great songs on this one. Phrenolith, Desolate Endscape. 2017 and 2018 were loaded. I mean, it was really hard to kind of make this balance so that it wasn't like heavily condensed into that time frame. Acephalix, Decreation. It's got members of Vastum and stuff. If you haven't heard this one, members of Vastum and Necrot. Spectral Voice, Eroded Corridors of Unbeing, Death Doom. A lot of death doom in here, but that firmly falls into the death metal category, and these albums are just phenomenal. Disma, Spectral Voice, Hooded Menace, Crypts, so much good shit, so much. This was my top album of 2017, Gorephilia, Seven Monolith. I like to say that this band does Morbid Angel better than Morbid Angel does now, so if you like Morbid Angel, check out Gorephilia. Moving on to 2018. This is Sulphur Aeon, the Scythe of Cosmic Chaos. Another Morbid Angel sounding band, but again, they probably are doing it better than current Morbid Angel. I don't think that this one was one that many people expected to be on this list, but Antichrist with Pax Moriendi. This is a band from South America that plays, again, death doom. This, I think, is the heaviest death doom album since Disma's Towards the Megalith, which I showed in here earlier. So if you like that album and you haven't heard this, get on it. Hyperdontia, Nexus of Teeth. As you can see, there's a lot of European bands in here. There's a lot of American bands in here. That's just the way that it shook out. I don't have any sort of preference. I do tend to lean more towards the American bands just because that's where I live, and they're easier to, those records are easier to get a hold of. Those bands are easier to see. That's just, you know, the nature of the beast. Drawn and Quartered, The One Who Lurks. Fantastic band, hugely underrated band. They just came out with a new one. Go check that one out. 2019, Superstition with The Anatomy of Unholy Transformation. I fucking love this album. Just riffs and riffs and riffs for fucking days. So good. Moosmehu, Reign of the Odious. This has got Swart to Douches, or whatever you pronounce his name, but dude's in a lot of black metal projects. This is his death metal project, and it is astounding. It's so good. Fetid with Steeping Corporeal Mess. Absolutely disgusting. This band and Cerebral Rot, which didn't make this list, probably should have, but I wanted to keep it a little more condensed. Making the Pacific Northwest proud. And last year, 2020, I debated if I wanted to do 2010 to 2019 or 2011 to 2020, because 2020 was pretty recent. I didn't want recency bias to play into this too much, but I think both of these albums are undeniable, and I think that they deserve to be on here. Starting with Undergang, Aldrig E. Levitz. I don't know if that's how you pronounce the album name, but again, this is a band that you all know. I think this is their finest work of the decade. I'm probably alone on that sentiment, but doesn't matter. It's my list. And then finally, Faceless Burial, Speciation. This was very close to being my #1 death metal record of the year, last year. Listen to it. It's good. All this stuff is good. So I hope that you find a cool death metal album that you really like that you didn't know about from watching this video. That's the intent of it. It's not my intent to sit up here and act like I know everything, so because I don't. But please, like, comment, subscribe, continue to do all that stuff. Again, leave comments in the description of your favorite death metal albums from the past decade. And until the next time, take care.